What's up, everybody? This is Lance. I'm the host of the Health and Real Estate Podcast. And today's guest is Julia Furlipa. She's the author of the 7 Plus Lifestyle, podcast host of Best Life by You, and a celebrity nutritionist who has some high profile clients, including 2 NBA champions. So, welcome to the show, Julia.
That's Hi, Lance. Thank you. What a stellar introduction. I'm like, this is fun. It's nice being on the flip side and not having to be like all prepared. But I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Awesome. Well, I had to give you a good intro because when I was
Thank
on your
you.
podcast, you gave me an awesome intro.
I got you.
Well, I love it. And so tell us, like, where did your health and fitness and nutrition journey start?
Okay, so I had always been into moving my body in some sort of way, whether it was dance when I was younger. I did theater since I was, how old? Well, I started dance when I was 3, and I'd been religiously on a stage since I was 6 years old. And that stopped around 21, where I was doing 3 shows a year, constantly in rehearsals, training my memory. And I just remember in high school, I had the military people to come into school, and my competitive ass was like, oh, I can do push-ups. I can do push-ups. I'm like, and they were like, you're a girl. Can you do at least kneeling push-ups? I'm like, kneeling push-ups? I can do toe push-ups. Like, I got you. And that would be me, just my competitive nature in high school. So I knew I always had the competitive side to me. And then I also played sports. I played tennis. I played soccer. I did softball. I'm trying to think, did I do anything? No, because then the rest of it was theater and performing. And a backstory on my passion around nutrition and health, besides just like those passions of being competitive and an athlete, was when I was 15 years old. My mom was diagnosed with colon cancer, and then my best friend's mom had passed away of lung cancer. Our moms both had cancer at the same time, and my mom had survived, and her mom did not. And then my grandma, who just passed away a few weeks ago, at that time, she was diagnosed with bladder cancer. My other grandma, who was my best friend, just passed away. And it was just like a brutal time for between the age of 13 and 16. I dealt with so much loss and pain that, I was never the girl, because I'm a woman of faith as well. So I was like, it's okay. Like, it's going to all be okay. I would walk around so positive. People had no idea. Like, I was walking around like having family health issues and whatnot. And it was really hard for me to process, I think, all of that at such a young age. And I didn't really know how to process like loss and struggle. And so the only way through is through, right? People go through loss, people go through struggle. And at that time, my mom, I remember after they had done surgery on her, she went through treatment, or she did the treatment that she had to, and they caught it early enough. She had said, oh yeah, the doctor said I need to eat more fiber. And I never understood. It was like, fiber. And that always stuck with me. I was like, fiber, what does that even mean? Like, what do you mean fiber? Like, what's the importance of that? And we still continue to have have our home cooked meals. And then because I was on the go playing sports, dance classes in theater, my mom would be like, we're running through McDonald's, or just popping chicken nuggets into the oven and making mac and cheese and having Kraft mac and cheese on the road. And then my mom would try to put like some peas on the side and microwave them just to have like some greens. And I would just be eating in the car, going from rehearsal to theater to whatever it was. And I mean, I was a pretty energetic kid. I also was that girl that drank 5 soda cans a day. And I also had coffee since I was 8 years old every morning with a splash of sugar and milk. That was how I bonded with my grandma. At 8 years old, she'd pour me a little bit of coffee, and I just never, kicked the addiction. It just got worse and worse over the years. And so I I would say I had so much energy. Like I was just a positive energizer bunny. People would be like, she's like sunshine. And I never realized. I'm like, yeah, 5 cans of soda a day, totally fine. Like, look at this. Like nobody said it's bad. So I look back and I'm like, how did I make it this far eating what I did? So my sister, it was in, I think, high school. She had what's it called? She had done a project for school and it was like she had to cut out sugar or like added sugar. And she's like, I'm going to cut out soda. And I saw how much weight she lost. I was like, all you did was cut out soda and you lost all that weight. And so for me, I was very tiny. I was very, very tiny girl. Didn't have any muscle, anything. I was just a stick. And so I was like, that's so interesting. You lost so much weight just cutting out soda. And so I would Google things of like, why did somebody lose weight for soda? Like, I don't understand sugar and stuff. And then in science, because she's older than me, I remember in 8th grade biology, I'd asked my teacher about soda, and she explained how it burns the acidic lining of your stomach and how it impacts your stomach. And there's so much sugar, and sugars can cause cancer. And so all that kind of stayed with me. And as I got older, so my mom's cancer diagnosis is probably the first moment of awakening I had around health. And then by the time I got to college, I was training. I was constantly at the gym 5 days a week. I always say that's the longest relationship I've ever had in my life is the one with the gym. Um, Literally the one with the gym. I've been so committed to it. I think since I was really 16 years old. So, and I'll be 31 in a couple weeks. So, yeah, it's been a long time. So I was at the gym, and then my senior year of college, I had my own apartment because I was an assistant resident director. And at that time, I started to meal prep at home because I was a student teacher. I was a waitress. I was in classes. I was working all the time. And I'm like, you know what? Let me like make my own breakfast and let me start making my own things. So I started to meal prep. And I do remember when I was student teaching, there was a girl in class that she was very much made fun of. And it was because she was vegetarian.
Mhm.
And she was very adamant. Seventh grader, when I was student teaching, and this is, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was doing this. And because I didn't know what else I wanted to do with my life. So I would listen to her, and she's like, please don't kill I love my cat. Like, I don't want anybody to kill my animals. And like, I remember the teachers around be like, oh, she's just crazy. Like, she has no idea. And like, I was like, oh, like, it's kind of sweet. But in my head, I was like, no, you need turkey, you need like chicken, you need all these things. And like, that was my brain at 17 years old. So I'm thinking of that and listening to this little girl who's again in 7th grade, so what, 12 years old. And I'm like, she's so passionate about animals and helping animals. And here I am eating them, thinking that it was benefiting my body. And I also had cut out red meat when I was 16 years old, maybe no, I was 7. How old was I? I can't even remember age. So no, senior in college, I was 21. And I know my story. Don't worry, I'll get to a point. I was 21 when I heard this, not 17. I graduated in 2017. That's where my brain is. And so at that time, I had cut out red meat in sophomore year of college. And I stuck to that. I was like, I find it disgusting. I find I think blood. So red meat grossed me the heck out. Red meat, hot dogs, all that. But I still was like, no, let me eat white meat. Highly allergic to shellfish. Fish also skeeved me out. Like when people ate salmon, all I could think of are the little parasites and stuff that went through. And I was like, I was so skeeved out by fish. And I knew I was allergic to shellfish. So I was like not having that. So I was just a girl that was living on dairy, chicken, and turkey. And that was it. Those were my only meats of choice. And I was very strong, committed to that. And then I got to graduate school. And in graduate school, my partner at the time, he had introduced me to like more vegetarian meals. And he's like, let's have like meatless Mondays. And I was like, sure, let's do that. Or like meatless Fridays. And I was like, sure. Because he had lived in Costa Rica for a while. And a lot of it was beans and rice and plantains. So he was showing me how to cook a lot of meals. And I was open to it. I'm like, sure, yeah, we need vegetables. Vegetables are good. But I was still very, very sold on the I need meat of some sort. I need protein. I need meat. And because I was a lifter, very sold to that. So then after in graduate school, I started doing, I got training for group fitness and I started to dive more into nutrition. And I was like, you know what? Let me like really explore this. And I went down the route of like, not processed foods. You need to cut that out, like minimize alcohol, have your protein, like very much where everybody else's mind was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I digress. I'm getting to my story. Then after graduate school, in graduate school, I got super, super sick. I was hospitalized because I got the flu shot, ended up in the hospital. And then that took me down a whole holistic route because I was like, what are they putting in our bodies? Why am I dying in the hospital bed? Why am I being pumped up with all this shit? And I'm just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I'm not healing. They're just putting band-aids over whatever issues I had. I was in the hospital. I was almost forced to take a leave of absence by the dean of students. And after that experience in November 2018, I was just like, I have to focus on more holistic health and healing. And like that was a moment for me where I'm like, nope, we need to do more holistic healing. And then come 2019, I was with my mom and sister and we were in Barnes and Noble and my health journey was really starting to come about. And I'm just like, you know what? I think I want to teach people more about nutrition because I'm very good at educating. I knew I didn't want to be an English teacher long term. I was like, I was in graduate school for student affairs administration and taking other additional classes. And I was just like, this is not it for me. Like I want to be helping people with their health. So then finally, I'm in Barnes & Noble. I come across 2 books, Crazy Sexy Diet by Chris Carr and How Not to Die by Dr. Greger. The Crazy Sexy Diet book, I was transformed. I read that in one day. One day, I was so obsessed with it. Read it. And then overnight, I cleared out my entire fridge. And I went plant-based, like, I think it was January 1st. It was like right New Year's 2020. And then I read How Not to Die within a week. And that book is freaking thick. I read it in a whole week and I couldn't stop learning. I was so obsessed. And then I followed a bodybuilder vegan cookbook, which is like whole food bodybuilder. And I can't even explain to you the amazing feeling that I felt. I've never felt better in my life that I was like, how are people not following this? Like, how are people not feeling this good? And like everybody around could tell my skin was getting much better. My skin color was like glowing so much more. My personality was like, even though I'm energized, I was like 10 times more energized. My anxiety subsided. Like it was, cause I was going through a breakup. So I was like still heartbroken, whatever. I just was like a different person. And so that's really my health journey, if I'm to explain it. And then I did every program online you could possibly think of. I did programs with Cornell, certification programs. I did NASM. I'm trying to look, Precision, AFA. I'm in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition for the Health Board certification. And so I have about 6 years plus of nutrition education, plus conferences, plus working with dietitians, working with lifestyle doctors, working with my own team of people. Like I have so much knowledge and passion that I just want to continually help people. So that is really my journey of health. I know it was a long-winded, like 15-minute explanation, and I can go into more like how I almost died with black mold toxicity, but that's a different story. It was just being plant-based and going plant-based, I believe, has saved my life. And it is, to this day, one of the top 3 best decisions of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much to go
Sorry,
into. No, thank you. Now I just have so much to go into. I appreciate it. I look taking notes and
Oh,
jotting.
I do that too. Yeah.
Where do I want to start? Well, I want to start back where you said, I believe you said you were 16 when you gave up red meat. So
That was correct. My bad. It was when I was in 2015. So I'm getting years mixed up. So I was 18 years old.
18.
Close enough. 18 years old.
What made you give up red meat?
It wasn't a documentary. It wasn't anything. It was actually, I had 2 friends who are now married. I was at their wedding, who were vegetarian and they were Buddhist. But now this is a different topic. They're Christian and they're no longer vegetarian. And I watched Crayspiracy too after we spoke about it. So that's, oh my gosh, I was sobbing my eyes out. So anyway, I digress. They had explained about like animal cruelty and just like I didn't see pictures of slaughterhouses. It was just the image of it. Like all I could see was like, it's made from a cow and I couldn't get out of my head that it was blood. Like all the pus and stuff coming out of it, all of that. I mean, chicken, that's like the pus and whatnot. But like in red meat, I just could not disassociate that it was from a cow. And every time there was liquid with it, I just saw it as blood. And that skeeved me out. But I never saw I couldn't, like, the connection to animals. I was like, well, so what? Like, doesn't really matter. Like, does it matter at that point? Everybody eats it. Like, it's supposed to be good for you. But then I got bullied by people around who were like, your iron's going to be so bad. And I was anemic. Prior to going vegan, I was anemic. When I went vegan, no longer anemic. Huh. Isn't that funny? Isn't that hysterical? Like, I was anemic and people are like, it's because you need the red meat. It's because you need the red meat. And I'm like, I'm not having red meat because I also knew it was a carcinogenic. That's why. And I did not want to be engaging in anything that caused cancer after seeing my mom go through cancer. That was another thing. I'm trying to like think back to that point in my life. That was over 10 years ago. So I just knew that it was so bad for you. And I got bullied about iron and stuff. And like, I was like, whatever. I can't put that in my mouth. Like, I just would get skeeved out by it. So yeah, I'd probably start there with that. So 18 years old. Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, we all have that disconnect. It's just the world we're grown up in.
Yeah.
They call it the Matrix. So have you heard that one before?
No.
Yeah,
I have not heard that. Wow. I literally never heard.
Once I finally made the connection, then I saw meat as animals. You know, I saw hamburgers as
Yeah.
and then we could just have vegan burgers and vegan pizza.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
boom. Another thing I wanted to ask is you said you read 2 books. The first one I didn't hear about. You said it was Crazy Sexy what?
Diet, Crazy Sexy Diet by Chris Carr. And I read the book, I think 3 times. Like, and I don't know if I still have it. I might, because I give away books. Like, if I feel like a book is good for somebody, I'll give it away to them and I won't see it again. But that book had just explained how this woman, Chris, had the busy lifestyle. She was achieving her goals. She was an actress, etc. And she was living on processed food and didn't really take care of her body, just living the hustle and bustle in New York. I believe it was New York. And she got a rare cancer diagnosis. And so she saved herself and prolonged her life. Like, she continued to live healthily by changing to a whole food plant-based diet. And she did green juices. She ate a bunch of whole foods. She would have chia seeds every day. And the testimonies, it wasn't necessarily all the context in her book. It was the testimonies that she had placed throughout her book that really spoke to me. That was the thing that I was like, wow, this is because somebody had said they were diagnosed with cancer and they got rid of their cancer with just changing their diet and juicing and green juices, because you don't want the fruit juice. You want green juices if you're going to be juicing. Otherwise, just do smoothies so you get fiber. But that book was really, that opened my eyes. It was all the testimonials. And I was like, if these people can do it and heal themselves, so can I. Because at that point, like, just, it was really thinking of my mom being like, I don't want to get cancer. Like, I was so nervous and scared. But now, being on the flip side, a lot of the hormonal cancers you can help prevent, and you can also help heal a lot of them too. To stop the metastasizing of cells, or to help alleviate symptoms, shrink the tumor. Like, there's been so many people in this world who have done that. And healing isn't just through nutrition, it's through a lot of other practices too. So yeah, that book did it for me. That sold me 100%.
I love it. I'm going to have to check that book out. I haven't got one yet, so I'll definitely add that to the list. And yeah, I'm a big believer in using food as medicine.
Medicine.
And I believe that if we give our bodies the right nutrients and take away all the processed stuff, all the bad toxins, exercise, sweat, that our bodies have the power to regenerate and heal themselves. So I'm a big believer in that.
I am
And
too. I'm too.
yeah, I know we vibe on a lot of the same stuff. Next I want to ask you about the black mold toxicity, because I know mold is it's actually a lot of people,
Crazy.
and it's more prevalent than what we think.
Yeah. So anybody who's listened to me on other podcasts or has listened to me on my own podcast, I shared this story a few times, like in episodes, but I was living in an apartment in 2021. It was with my partner at the time, and he had moved out 2022. I stayed in the apartment, and there was a lot of water damage. Like I have a whole album on my phone. I could send you pictures after, if you want to see the disgusting bit. It was a lot of water damage, and the apartment community had gaslit me into believing like it was normal, the water damage was okay, but it would be like clumps on the
Mm,
wall. Disgusting. And we would have cockroaches. And I'm like, cockroaches are not normal. Then you'd have all these little bugs like crawling on the wall. And I just remember I think it was 2023. Yeah, I think it was end of 2023. Um, there was a huge bubble. Oh no, I came home. It was Thanksgiving 2023. There was a huge bubble in my bathroom, and the water all broke, and there were more bubbles in the bathroom. And I'm coming home, and I'm like, why is there a flood in my apartment? Like, what the hell is this? And I just noticed and I was on the top floor, so the roof needed to be redone. There was old water coming into the apartment, and on the sides of the wall, so much water damage as well, like just so bad. And the apartment, every time I came back to the apartment, because I used to travel a lot more in 2023, 2024, because I was a teacher. So every single break, I would take a trip, every time. And I would come back from the vacation and I would get horribly sick.
mm,
Laryngitis, breathing issues, you name it. Anxiety galore to the point where I came home from a vegan festival, and I get to my apartment and I can't breathe. Like I asked my mom to drive me to the hospital, and I was sitting in the hospital, and they were like, you're just having a panic attack. And I'm like, no, my lungs, I can't breathe. So the amount of chest scans I had, the amount of things, they're like, you're actually fine. Where I finally met with a woman who is like, she's energy healer. She's like, she's Christian, aligned with my values too. And she was just all about healing. And she's like, Julia, there is mold in your place. Everything you're telling me. And that was the first person who ever acknowledged that there was mold. My friend had come over to the apartment, and my friend, within 20 minutes, I was making us tea. Her whole face blew up, and she couldn't stop sneezing. And she's like, did you put something in the food or something? And literally her whole face was blowing up. And and she couldn't stop sneezing, couldn't stop coughing. And I'm like, she's having an allergic reaction to something. And I'm like, I just made tea. Like, what's going on? And so she's like, it's fine. I'm going to go home. I'll take a bath, whatever. So she went home, and then her neighbors rushed her to the ER because she couldn't breathe. And she was having so many bad reactions. Turns out she is highly allergic to mold. And she told me, she's like, you have to get out of there. All your breathing issues, because I had a permanent eye twitch on this side, and I started losing feeling in this side of the face. Like I couldn't get this open, and I couldn't feel this side. And I was panicking because I'm like, why can't I feel my face? I couldn't feel half this face. And people were saying it was like a signs of Parkinson's or something like that. And I was like, no, I'm too young. I'm so healthy. Why would I be struggling with that? And then early 2024, I had, from living there, I started to get these black things that were growing, and I didn't know what that was. So I called in the landlord, and I was like, what is that? He takes a napkin, he cleans it off. I took a picture first. He cleans it off. He's like, you're fine. I was like, can we do something about all the water damage? She's like, you're fine to live here. And I was like, this is not right. So then I had to have other people tell me I was living in mold and that I needed to do something about it, or I would die. And so at that point, I ended up because they brought in a mold inspector. The mold inspector calls, And he says, you have a livable amount of mold in your apartment.
Oh,
Verbatim, a livable amount of mold in your apartment. A livable. It's like, a livable. What does that mean? So then I paid for my own mold inspector, $2,500 to come in. Immediately he gets in here. He's the scientist. And I hired because I actually was talking to a lawyer at that time because my friend whose face blew up, she's like, you have a lawsuit on your hands. All your hospital visits, everything, your breathing issues. Oh, because by the way, I had like pretty much pulled my rib and I was out of the gym for 2 months. I had to call out of work because I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe. I was having panic attacks all the time. It was like horrendous period of my life.
that's
Horrendous. I literally was pretty much dying. And I was just on medication all the time. Medicine, because nothing was helping. I was trying to do everything to help, but nothing was helping my breathing. And I just felt like I was breathing through a straw all the time. I felt like I was psychotic. I was going on a psychotic break. Had a constant twitch on my eye. Everything would put me into a spiral. Like it was just horrible. So then, another mushroom grew and it was an actual visible mushroom. And I said, that's disgusting. And so I called a lawyer. I spoke to a lawyer with my friend and the lawyer was like, you have to hire this top scientist because he's in every court case. He'd be able to defend you. The man walks into my apartment. He's like, I don't even need to touch anything. The humidity and the air is all mold. And he's like, you have to get out tonight. He's like, you cannot stay in here. And I'm crying because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to go. What am I going to do? So he ends up going into the wall, pulls it back, all black mold, all black on the wall. And he's like, how are you not on a ventilator right now? He's like, how are you not like, okay? So I'm still dealing with long-term side because I've been out of there for October will be 2 years since I've been out. I've done acupuncture. I've gotten a naturopath. I've done every healing thing I could. A lot of like healing drops, like all herbs that I could think of, mushroom, like liquid drops, like so many different things to heal my body. But even my cardio, sometimes like I suffer, like I get into breathing. I don't need an inhaler now, but like my lungs are not the same they once were because of that. But anyway, couldn't sue them. They didn't, my case wouldn't have gotten anywhere. It would have just been a waste of money, especially in New York, because New York's horrible. And yeah, so I got out of there. I lived with my friend. I paid rent at my friend's place. Then I rented a hotel for a week. I lived in with my parents. And then I finally got the place I'm in now, about a month, 6 weeks, 6 weeks of being a nomad. And now I'm in this place. And yeah, it was brutal. And it was very depressing, a very sickening, depressing time. But I'm very blessed to be healed and healthy. But I don't know my eye twitch went away. I gained feeling again in my face. My anxiety has been like night and day, night and day. I'm like, I was psychotic. And then like I looked up symptoms and I had people telling me they were like actual professionals in the naturopath in the natural world. Again, why I'm more on the holistic side, who actually heard me and were like, you're living in black mold toxicity. Like they were like, you have to heal, like be okay with healing and like know that it's going to take a long time for your body to adjust. And like, I'll go to acupuncture, I'll go to like my naturopath and they're like, oh, there's still a lot of inflammation. If I go for a facial, they can tell there's inflammation. And I'm like, I try to eat as anti-inflammatory as I can, but I feel like my body is still healing from that. So that is a no joke thing. Very scary. But yeah, I didn't really have people supporting me either. Like if my friend didn't come over and have that outbreak, I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't think I don't know.
yeah, mold is no joke. That's nothing to play around with.
No.
So I'm glad you're doing much better and
Me too.
keep doing all the natural stuff and keep getting it out.
Yeah.
It could take years and years to fully get it out. Which brings us on to another topic.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you received a flu shot and got very ill and ended up in the hospital.
Yeah. That was in 2018. It was November 2018. We were all like forced, and I was forced to get the COVID shot vaccine or I'd lose my job. And so I had to get that back in 2020. But in 2018, I didn't really ever keep up with the flu shot, but my staff that I was working with was very adamant about us going to get the flu shot. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll go get the flu shot. Because I had had the flu before in college, and that was horrible. That was like, I got it from a girl, my dance partner. I'd gotten it from her. And I couldn't even breathe. It was disgusting. I'm like, no, thank you. So I'd gotten the flu shot because I used to not get it. Then I got the flu shot. And then within hours, I'm in the middle of sitting in lecture. And I felt like I was going to pass out. And the girl next to me was like, are you okay? She's like, you are like white as a ghost. I'm like, I do not feel good. And so it was that. Oh, and then I was in the middle of putting together a conference. I was spearheading a conference. Now it's all coming back to me. So thank you. I was spearheading a conference, in charge of it. And I go to my, again, partner at the time. And I was like, and he's like, you look horrible. I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. Like I could not, I was so sick. So he couldn't take me, but my boss dropped me off at the hospital. I walk in alone, sitting in the waiting room, finally get seen. They put IV like hydration in me. They tested me. They're like, yeah, you have a fever, but like nothing we can really do. Just go home. Here, take some of this. And I was like, well, I'm going to get drugged up because I have a conference I have to lead. And so I was trying to lead so I did. I put on my big girl pants. I led the conference. I was hosting it. The next day, and I was sweating profusely. I was so out of it, and I had to lead my own session because this was something I spent months preparing for. And I was like, timing was perfect. And so I did that. It was a day-long conference. And so I was in charge of everything, how everything operated. And then right after, one of my friends, he looked at me and he's like, you got to go back to the hospital. He's like, you look like you're going to die. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to die. And so I think it was my partner and his friend drove me to the hospital, and then they admitted me and they were like, oh my gosh, we think you have mono. And I was like, mono? What the hell is that? So they were testing me for all these things, and they were like, when did this start? And I said, immediately within hours of getting the flu shot. And they were like, okay, well, we'll never get the flu shot again. Lesson learned. And they were testing me for mono. They put me in a CAT scan. And my tonsils were so inflamed, I couldn't even talk. Like everything just blew up. The day I got to the hospital after the conference, probably from all the talking too, but I felt like I couldn't even swallow. They had me on like 4 different IV things, had me like both my arms are jacked up with stuff. And they had given me like every medication, could not figure out what I had. So then they were like, let's go run a scan because your blood work is awful. They were like, let's go put you in to see if you have leukemia. And I'm like, oh my God, leukemia. And so I'm getting tested. I'm going through CAT scans. They're like sitting me under here. And this one guy, the guy who puts me into the scan, he goes, wow, I've never had a person who's actually like coherent right now in this. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, and again, it's just me at 2 a.m. going into the scan, literally just me, no one else. And I'm so young. And he's like, I've never had somebody like that's pretty much alive. He's like, I usually get people after car accidents or people on their deathbed going through this scan. And I said, wait a fucking scare me, bro. And he was like, it's okay. Like, I'll be very nice. He's like, I have 5 daughters. Like, I literally remember all of this. And then the nurse was there putting me back in the wheelchair. I have all my shit attached to me, like going in the wheelchair with this. And they were like, nope, you don't have any of that. And I was like, well, thank God. And nobody could figure out what I had. Nobody knew. I had multiple doctors, so many tests every few hours stabbing me. It was just brutal of a hospital experience. And so they signed off that I had acute tonsillitis because no one figured out what I had. But I was in the hospital for a week, a long time. And so then I ended up doing, because I'm an overachiever, I was doing class. I asked if I could do Google Meets to sit in on class and watch class and take notes and do assignments because I'm type A. I'm an overachiever. So yeah, that was brutal. And then at the end, they were like, please never get a flu shot again. And I was like, don't plan on it. And honestly, ever since I've gone plant-based, knock on wood, I have not been, the only illness I had was the mold toxicity, because of that was not something I could control. And I think the neurovirus, but if I get any sniffles, it's gone within like an hour, 2 hours. Like I don't get sick. It was just when I was in the mold toxicity. So, and then people would say, oh my gosh, you're sick because you're vegan. But like they wouldn't account to the mushrooms that were growing on my wall. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that flu shot, never getting the flu shot again. I was forced to get the COVID shot. I don't even want to get that. I don't want to get any shots because I'm like, no, thank you. Not after the hospital experience that I had. No, no. So, yeah, it was a brutal. Me and the hospital we're not really friends. I know it's life or death, so they helped me, but like, and they helped alleviate pain. But boy, that was brutal.
Yeah,
Brutal.
I try to avoid going to the hospital at all costs. I actually
Yeah.
haven't been to a doctor in almost
Don't
10
blame you.
years. Um,
Fine.
yeah, and I rarely get sick, just like you. Before I went
Yeah,
vegan, I would get the common cold way too
me
commonly.
too.
Every season, I would get the cold, and
Crazy.
now I think I've been sick once in the past almost
Yeah,
9 years,
it's
and like you
amazing.
said, every now and then I'll start to feel some sniffles or a scratchy throat, and then I just really, like, I'll either fast for a day or I'll just eat, like, super healthy herbs.
Dial in.
Yeah, and then boom, next day I'm fine. So I'm a big
Yeah,
believer in that, and I don't know if I've ever gotten the flu shot before, but I did not get the COVID vaccine or any of
yeah,
the boosters, and at this point in my life, I'm like, my I just believe in my natural immunity and just building that as strongly as possible,
yeah.
and I'm probably never getting any vaccine ever again, and
I know. I think the only ones they say you have to get is for Africa. If you go to Africa, like all the shots and stuff
yeah,
that for that. But I mean, I'm not planning to go to Africa,
yeah.
but 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 that was one I remember my friend had to get a bunch and she got really sick from the
Mhm.
shots, like really, really sick. But that was the only, but I don't know. I had to get the COVID vaccine because of my job. And you know what? To everybody to each their own. If
Yeah,
people, there
each
are people who really believe in it, and support it. And I'm not going to be against it just after my personal experience. I would rather not. Because even after the COVID shot, I got the COVID shot in 2021. I was COVID testing students around sick kids all the time. Never once got sick. Got the
Mhm.
COVID vaccine. I got COVID. Literally got COVID like 2 weeks later. I was like, supposed to prevent it. And I did. I got COVID. And I was never sick prior to that. Never. So I'm like, what is this twisted world? So no, I'm not a fan because of my own personal experience. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we can go down a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
know.
rabbit holes.
I know.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at
Yes.
that because I would
Sounds
go
good.
down those rabbit holes with
I
you.
know.
Next topic. Another thing you mentioned was fish. When you thought about fish, you didn't eat fish because you thought of parasites. So tell
Yeah.
me about that. Like, have you ever done a parasite cleanse or anything like that?
I have not. I mean, I've done a lot of detox, like
Mhm.
through oral, like the TRS spray that helps with detox. I've done a lot of like food for my body detox, anti-inflammatory, whole food, close to raw food. But I've never done like we've talked about this, I think. I've never done like a juice cleanse. Although it probably would be beneficial. Like if I ever got super sick again, I'd probably do that. There's a lot of like holistic practices out there
Mhm.
that help cleanse the body, but with fish, I I've been allergic to shellfish my entire life, as long as I can remember. Still, if I go for blood work for allergy tests to see if anything changes, still shows I'm highly allergic to that, which I'm fine with. But I just remember like when people would get fish or seeing videos, all I think of are the little worms that are like on the salmon, and I can't unsee. Like once I see something, I can't unsee it, and
Mhm.
it's crazy. Like I conspiracy that cow that is like I talked about it with my client this morning, the cow that like is trying to get out and there's no way to turn, like they can't turn back
Mhm.
and they just have to go towards being slaughtered. Like they can't turn around, they're trying to turn around, they're trying to back up and it's being abused. Can't unsee that. I can't unsee the blood from the red meat. I can't unsee it. And then I can't unsee like the worms and parasites that are in the fish. And like I know people swear by it being a health food because of the omegas that it has, but there's a lot more cons than there are of pros when it comes to shellfish, when it comes to fish in general. in comparison to other sources of omegas. So and you could just take a supplement that's just freaking clean, with the DHA, EPA, ALA. You can get your omegas from walnuts, flax seeds. Go ahead and get it from natural sources like your Whole Foods. So you can save all that time of the detoxing of the toxins that are in fish, because most of them are caught in the ocean. Look at how we pollute the ocean. And our skin, if we put something on our skin, it's getting into our body. What do you think happens to fish when they're swimming in a dirty ass polluted water? Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, so sorry about
Yeah.
that. But like
You
that's
already dropping it.
it's
Oh, it's
just,
all good.
I know I already did. Lo siento. But it's just, to me, I can't, there are certain things I can't unsee. And it comes with food that way. And I have gross like things with other foods. Like it's not just that, but like when I had the mold toxicity, there was a certain pasta that I felt like I was always choking on. And it was just like a very clean pasta. And still to this day, I literally have anxiety with that pasta. I'm like, I can't have that pasta. Like, I'm worried I'm going to start choking. Like, you create these, which it's like you can teach yourself to unlearn these things. But with salmon, with fish, all I see is the little parasites and the little worms in them, and I just can't unsee it. I just can't.
Yeah,
So,
there's so much in the fish, the parasites, heavy
mm-hmm.
metals,
Yep.
microplastics.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep. Yep.
saw a funny meme on Instagram or something where someone was checking out. They're buying some fish at the grocery store,
Yeah.
and they were checking out, and they asked the cashier, like, "Can I have a plastic bag with that?" And they said, "Oh, it's already in the fish." Because yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean,
It is, though. It is. They're eating all this stuff in the ocean.
mhm.
Just like we're breathing all the toxins in the air. But like, I understand people are like, it has so many, like a complete protein, it has the omegas, it's good for heart health. I'm like, yeah, but where do you think the fish get their health benefits from? The algae.
The
The algae,
algae.
they eat the algae. And so I wrote in my book, I'm like, no offense, I don't want to be grabbing onto the middleman. I just want to be, or the middle fish. I want to be just grabbing onto the main source. Like, why can't we just grab the original source? It's like, and there's people in this world that they're like, vegans can't live a long time and whatnot. I'm like, you look at Tory Washington's one, for example. Come on, he's like one of the most famous ones. Jacked, how old is he? Is he in his 70s?
I
Is
don't
he
know
in
how old
his
he is, but I think he's 50s.
Tory Washington?
I think he's 50.
Washington. Okay, hold on. Maybe he is. He's 51. I couldn't remember. There's another one that's like him that is in their 70s, like just jacked, fit. So even being in your 50s looking like that, like he's incredible. But I swear there's always going to be people who argue. And I'm like, if you want to believe eggs are beneficial, what are you comparing it to? If
Mhm.
you're comparing it to steak, yeah, eggs are probably more beneficial than steak. If you're comparing eggs to, a plastic bag, yeah, eggs are more beneficial than a plastic bag. But like, what are you literally comparing it to? So I think people don't have enough knowledge in that, but they're going to always argue what the food contains versus what it doesn't. And I think the big thing is like with veganism, a lot of people feel like it's restrictive, but I don't believe it's restrictive. I just believe that it's not normalized in society. So, because if something's normalized in society, people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, it's not restrictive at all. That's fine." So it's a very controversial topic. I know people talk about it for days and whatnot. So I've learned to only talk to people who want to listen and
Yeah,
have
and
conversations with
I
people who want
used
to
to
listen.
think veganism before I went vegan, I thought it was very
Yeah.
restrictive. And then
Oh,
after
me too.
I went
Me
vegan,
too.
I was like, it's
Crazy.
actually the opposite. When I
Yeah.
wasn't vegan, I was eating the same 4 dead
Me
animals
too.
every day.
Me too.
And now there's like 20, 40,000 different edible plants on this earth that you could eat. To this day, I'm learning about new fruits and vegetables
Me
and
too.
spices. Yeah, there's so much.
Me too. Lance, literally me too. Cause I think back to college, like when I was meal prepping, cause I was like, I would eat turkey burgers. I'd have it with greens. Then I would do chicken and rice and broccoli, like a typical bodybuilder
Mm,
plan. And I think that was about, I do ground turkey in like with sweet potatoes, but pretty much 5 of the same meals all the time. So like, no, it's not as restrictive. Plants are the things that are like making everything so much more diverse. So, and you can live on it. I think it's just people thinking they're seeing examples of celebrities who have really bad nutrition and they so happen to be vegan, and that's what makes it get a very bad rep. So yeah, I hope to change that one day. I hope to like just show my muscles and be like, do I look deficient? I probably look really deficient to you, don't I?
I love it. Well, let's talk about that. How are you changing the narrative? Like, I know you wrote your book,
Mm-hmm.
the 7+ lifestyle. Tell
I'll
us.
explain that. Yeah. So I have learned, I've coached over, so I used to work for a vegan company, and I left that company back in 2022. And I've been on my own since 2022 with my own business. So I've impacted over, I'd say 500 lives of like people who bought my book, speaking engagements, probably 500 to like 1,000 lives I've talked to. However, personally, like one-on-one, have spoken to about 200. And I've noticed the same theme pops up of people getting for whatever stupid reason, getting scared of the word vegan or getting scared of plants. And like, it's just stupid. So my whole approach was to teach people in a very easy way. So my book is a handbook. I like to say that. It's not like a research pack book. It's just very simple. It's 7 pivotal steps to help change your life without just nutrition, but like steps, working out. And I look back at the book because I wrote it between 2020 and 2022. And it was like, I look back now and I'm like, oh, I would so edit it. I would change it. I'd do this to it. But like, it's my first published book, like whatever. And the biggest thing about the title 7+ lifestyle is that I focused on the acidic versus alkalizing approach.
Yes.
When you're eating more, I think we may have spoken about this. But when you're 7+ above on the pH scale, you're alkalizing your diet, alkalizing your life. So I focused on how do we alkalize our life? Well, we do that through alkalizing foods. And what are alkalizing and anti-inflammatory foods? Whole plant foods. Whole plant foods. They're all anti-inflammatory. Unless you're allergic to them, then stay away. But like I was educating in the book, or I educate people in the book about how to include more fiber, right? How to achieve a life that is 7+ on the alkalizing scale. And then below 7 is the acidic topics. But I make it funny. I'm like, you know what? Calling your ex at 2 a.m., probably an acidic trait. So like, I make it funny, right? I also talk about like, there's a line in my book, and this might be TMI, but an older gentleman who's a professor had laughed so hard because I talk about soy and myths. And I'm like, soy gives you cancer, soy gives you boobs. And then I said, I was like, soy certainly does not give you boobs. Trust me. #IBTC. And he said he had no idea what it meant. And he like went to Urban Dictionary and he said he laughed for 5 minutes straight. He's like, you're funny. He's like, I didn't know. And I was like, well, I'm glad, people had to look it up and have fun. But I'm like, trust me, it'd be flying off shelves if it really gave people boobs. Wouldn't it be? I feel like it would be. So I try to make the book funny, relatable, and everybody that knows me can hear my voice in the book. And that's what I want it to be. So it's just a coach handbook. It's not to pick arguments. It's just like basic education. It's really for a beginner to like learn more about what fiber is, what saturated fat is, unsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. Like it just really talks about habits, how to move your body, what NEAT is compared to exercise activity thermogenesis, talked about the importance of water. And there's questions. I have a whole section that asks questions about like how you can approach your life. Like, are you pouring out to others and not pouring out to yourself? I provide a section to establish your why, how you can find your why. So it's a quick handbook, can be read in a couple hours, but the whole purpose was to teach people about plant-based living. And then at the end, I have 100% plant-based recipes. So yeah, that's my book.
I love that. So yeah, the name does make sense now. So the 7
Right?
is on the acidic
Yep.
and alkaline.
Alkalizing side. Yep.
So
Yep, yep, yep.
7 is neutral. Anything below is acidic. Anything above is alkaline.
See?
Perfect.
You see what I did there? And then I introduced plants about how important plants are because they're alkalizing for our bodies and they help fight off diseases and help with illnesses. So yeah, it's a really quick read. It's simple. It's meant to be easy.
Yeah, and
So yeah.
there's people that speak of theories, and I believe in it. That if your body is in a more alkaline state or a highly alkaline state, then it's impossible to get like sickness and disease and cancer if it's highly alkalinized.
Alkalize.
A lot of
Yeah.
disease is caused in an acidic.
Inflammation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's inflammatory. It's inflammation. And like inflammatory habits, not sleeping is one of the first things. Eating a lot of ultra processed foods is another. So there's like, I tell people, I'm like, if you're going to take one step today, start with eliminating ultra processed foods and then cut out dairy and then, cut out meat or reduce it. Like, I'm not going to tell people to change their entire world, but
Mm,
it is something that people can focus on, but it does. Like Dr. Greger talks about it in his book too, about acidity, alkalizing and acidity. But then some people will argue it against like the other side. They're like, well, actually your stomach acids can heal, can like be fine with it. But I'm like, my whole point is the acidity is inflammatory for the body. Inflammation is inflammation. Like you have to be aware of that. Like meat we know is inflammatory, dairy we know is inflammatory, ultra processed foods is inflammatory, certain oils are inflammatory. Like there's inflammation that is tied to those, that if you want to have a very small amount, then have your small amount, but don't say I can eat all this meat and be fine without pairing it with anti-inflammatory foods. Like it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
definitely, definitely. And yeah, I
Yeah.
saw one of your recent YouTube videos. You just released a few days ago, and it was about
Yeah.
like whole foods versus supplements, and also
Oh
micro.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah. So I actually had quite a few clients asking me to do videos on like micronutrients and whatnot. And like, I would love to be a social media influencer too. But as you know, as a business owner, there's no fucking time. It's
Yeah,
like, you can't. I'm like, I have to do all these videos and then educate. So I'm like, let me just use my podcast and I'll use that space. I'll record some videos, leave it as is. So I always like to educate people on the basics of a nutrition label versus a supplement label. So a nutrition label is going to be something that everything that's in a nutrition label is actually in the food. Like it's actually there. Whereas supplement label can get away, especially like FDA is not it doesn't have to be regulated by the FDA. Anybody can put out a supplement. Does not have to be third party tested. And a lot of supplements out there don't actually contain the correct percentage of what's in the item. So that's the downfall, is that many people have supplement companies out there and whatnot. And if there's not an NSF label on it, or if there's not a third party testing label on it, then I honestly would skip that supplement. Unless it's like very highly regulated and a very trusted brand, I would not be taking that supplement unless it has that NSF logo on it. So I explain pretty much, I just go through the point of supplements and vitamins and minerals. Vitamins, you have your water soluble, which are your B vitamins. And then you have A, D, E, and K, which are your fat soluble vitamins, water soluble. If you take too many, you just pee it out, excrete it. You don't want to overdo your fat soluble vitamins. And all of them you can get from food. Even when people are like, you can't get enough B12, B12 is one of those supplements that D3 is activated by K2. So you want to make sure you're having like D3 paired with a K2. Because I do believe you should be taking that supplement, especially me living in New York and I'm not really out in the sun. And I am a girly that does take supplements. So just to supplement in my diet, but it should never replace your actual food that you're intaking. So most people can get their B vitamins from food. It's just unfortunately a lot of food in America is so ultra processed and tapered with that a lot of supplements are removed in the process. So people need them. So yeah, I'd really just educate people on what, the minerals, micronutrients, small doses. Like micronutrients are so undervalued, and a lot of dietitians, a lot of health professionals or not health professionals, because a lot of health professionals will actually cater to the micronutrients, but people in like the bodybuilding world, bodybuilding sport, and a lot of dietitians do focus on the macronutrient aspect of it instead of necessarily the micronutrients. And I'm not saying all, because there are some fabulous dietitians out there, but many of them do just focus on like the macronutrient profile to make sure they're getting enough carbs, fat, and protein, where it's like you're not focusing on the micronutrient aspect and profile. And like you can get in blood work to see what the levels are. Like for me, I was taking a B12 when I did my blood work, and because I have to still do my blood work because of the mold toxicity, and I'm still correcting my blood work's now perfect, but it was horrible for a long time. But my B12, because they're like vegans need B12, they're very deficient. It was so high that I had to actually stop taking a B12 supplement.
Oh wow.
So yeah, because I do nutritional yeast, I have fortified milks, plant milk. So I pretty much just in the episode talk about what supplements we need and what is recommended. Basic ones, I do believe you could take a D3K2 every day. Magnesium, bisglycinate, or glycinate is especially important at night. There's different kinds of magnesium for different reasons, but the most recommended one is the magnesium bisglycinate or glycinate to take for just stress, calming the body, helping you sleep at night. And then I always talk about like the 4 ums. I say magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium are your electrolytes that you don't necessarily need an electrolyte drink for, but those should all be covered within food. And if it's not, just have some coconut water and you'll be fine. So yeah, I talk about a lot of like the minerals versus minerals, which you don't need. Like they're so small. Like zinc it's just such small amounts, but like it's a good episode to listen to, because I know that people, I mean, I can go on and on about that, but I know we have other topics, but it's really just to educate people on the difference of macronutrients versus micronutrients. And why we need both to thrive in life. And then just explaining vitamins versus minerals, and yeah, how to live a balanced life, and that you should not just rely on supplements. They should just be supplementing your life. Yeah. And always check NSF label.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. I love it. What were the 4 ums? Magnesium, calcium, sodium,
Potassium.
potassium. I love that. I never heard that.
No, I made it up.
That is so
Julia, this is Julia. I literally say that I'm like, make sure you have the 4 ums, and they're like, what are the 4 ums? And I'm like, magnesium, potassium, sodium,
I
calcium.
love
I
that.
made that up. Yeah, I made it up myself. So
That was very creative and clever.
thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, you are a celebrity nutritionist and
Yes.
pretty high profile clients, including 2
Yes.
NBA champions. But just
Yes.
about that and like any client success stories.
Yeah. So it's funny because I love talking. I'll talk about this, but they're actually not my proudest client success story. It's a pretty proud moment, I'll say.
That's funny.
But no, it was actually, I had 2 clients. One, I helped get rid. It wasn't just me, but without medicine, they had reduced or got rid of their cancer for prostate cancer. Their tumor had shrunk so much. And it was through the education I provided and the resources. So that's one of the proudest. The second was helping somebody lower their A1C level so that they no longer had prediabetes, like they were to normal range. Um, and they were so grateful. And then another client was, I guess this is where the faith comes in, because I'm a woman of faith and she was not. And she wrote me an essay. Like, I'm not kidding. It was like essay of, and I love her. I love her so much. But she had said that I brought her to faith. And for like 10 years, she was told she couldn't have a child. And we worked together to help get her very healthy and fertile, and take care of her health and her well-being and her mental health. And she 39 had her first baby.
Wow.
So that was like, and she was told her whole life at 22 she would never be able to have a baby. her body was that messed up. So those are my proud stories.
Those are amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
It's like my my NBA players. I work with two Knicks champions starters, and they are incredible. But I'm their private nutritionist, so I work coinciding two amazing chefs, and I write up their meal plans. I send menus every week. It's very organized. I have my own app. I'm a very big tech girl. So I have my own app for each of them, and I write out exactly what they need. I work with a team dietitian because she does all like the blood work. She does everything there. So it's a whole team, literally a team. Like we have a group chat that goes off every day. But it's with that, I provide all the meals he's eating. Like my one player I've been with, I'll be going into season 4 with him, and I have been with the chef. She's amazing, and he's 80% plant-based. And, he has chicken and turkey, and those are his only meats he eats. No gluten, no dairy, and and just pretty much whole food plant-based.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of that. And then the other one I picked up in March of this year. And so I've been working with the chef. So it's an adjustment period because he's very different
Mhm.
in what he likes, but I've been adding more fiber in, adding more plants in. So it's a team. It always takes a team. At that level, you have me as the nutritionist, private nutritionist. So I'll provide goals, water goals, make sure vitamins are up to date, make sure all the food covers all the nutrients he needs every day, the carb cycling, what he should have pre-workout, post-workout, pre-game day versus an off day. So like that's all me. And then that's like, and if we're trying to lose weight, the cut macros and, and what the protein should be and fiber and all that stuff. So that's all me as the behind the scenes girl. And then, yeah, I just work with the chefs, and then, they have a team. Like most of them have their own private athletic trainers, their own personal trainers. Not all of them have their own nutritionists, though. A lot of them have their own chefs, but a lot of chefs are not as health conscious as like these two that I work with are great because they're very health conscious, but not a lot of chefs are. A lot of chefs are still cooking the thing is, when cooking for a professional athlete, you have to have a different mindset because these guys are being paid millions of dollars to have a strong body, not to be eating like they're living in the Ritz area, right? Like they're not just your average person. They should be eating a lot differently
Yeah,
than
they should be eating for
another millionaire.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to work and have an impact on more professional athletes. Like I really, really would. I love endurance athletes. I've noticed, I just love the endurance sport. So my hope is to have 4 either NBA players or other endurance athletes that I could work with. And then, my dream that I'm going to manifest here is having 4 celebrities or 4 professional athletes that I get to work with, and then have my own talk show, or at least a producer, pick up my podcast and be able to do like health talks and interview people. And then be able to go do talks at schools or foundations and educate people on how to eat more plants and more fiber to help save their life, because that's been my approach. And the part, and then just send them resources. And so like I've sent people Christspiracy. You sent that to me. I sent people Christspiracy. I've sent What the Health. I've sent Game Changers so that people can watch on their own without me shoving it down their throat. I'm like, just watch it, add it to your watch list. So that's I would say it's just so funny because I was in an interview recently. I was an interview for a magazine, and they asked me like my client success stories. They're like, "Oh, it's literally the Knicks guys," and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a blessing, but like that's not my biggest client success story. Like, no, it's not." So it's just funny how one, and the last it wasn't a client, but it was a student who I get emotional sometimes thinking of this, and I've shared this story. I don't know if I've shared it on a podcast, but I've shared it with some friends. Back in 2019, I had a student come to me, and she had told me, this is a little tough to hear, so just a disclaimer about that, that her roommate was planning on ending her life.
Mhm.
And I told her to have the student come to me, just go on a walk. And she's like, she's not going to come to you. She already has plans. I'm like, just have her come to me. And this is where, like, again, my faith is important to me, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to have this conversation. I'm like 23 years old at the time. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to have this conversation, but I'm going to save this girl's life. Like, I have to. And it was my duty. I think it was like 5 o'clock. It was right when office hours ended. Like, I was ready to be done, clocked out with work. And so I asked the girl, I was like closing on my office. It was like, hey, let's go on a walk. It's nice outside. Let's go on a walk. And she's like, hey, what's up? And she didn't know that I knew about that. It was just going to be asking about her rooming experience. And that's why I said, so I said, how's your roommate? Like, how are things going? How's school? And she's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Not talking to me, a typical student. And I was like, okay, like, so I said, your friend is just concerned. Like, she said, you're sad or you're struggling. Like, can you talk me through that a little bit? And she was like, no, it's fine. It's just like life. And then she kind of opened up. She's like, life is just really hard and things going on. And I said, so I was like, I heard you play a sport. What sport do you play? And she's like, oh, soccer. I was like, awesome. Like, I used to play soccer. And I was like, this is so cool. So I'm like, have you ever been injured before at soccer? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, so wait. I was like, so you've never been injured. Have any of your teammates been injured before? And she's like, yeah, some people have. Like, some people broken their foot. I was like, okay, wait. So what happened when they broke their foot? And she's like, oh, they had to be pulled out of the game. And I was like, oh, did they just like walk on it? Like, why did they have to be pulled out? If it was hurt, why can't they just keep going? And you're probably getting to where I'm going. And I was like, if it's getting hurt, why not just keep playing on it? And she's like, because that would then injure the bone and hurt it even more. So I'm like, oh, so what did they do? And she's like, oh, she ended up getting a cast and stuff, and she had to put that on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, wait, so she couldn't play? She's like, no, she was out for the season. Like, this girl's getting angry. I was like, wait, so she got a cast because she broke her foot. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. She broke her foot. She hurt herself. She needed a cast and she couldn't play anymore. Why? Oh, because she needed to heal. I'm like, so sitting out and getting a cast and going to a doctor is going to help heal her body. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so one more question. If you can tell me what the difference between your physical body and your mental health is, I'll let you go. And she couldn't. She couldn't. So I ended up saying, oh no, I think before I said that, I said, no, I think I finished off, because again, this is years ago. It's something along the lines, but I was like, if you could tell me, I'll let you go. If not, we're going to the counseling center together and I'm going to sit with you. And she's like, okay. We go to the counseling center, and they knew of this student, and they've been trying to get that student in. And that night she was driven off to a hospital and put into an institution. And at the end of the year, this is like, I think it was like October. And then come May the next year. And I see so many students, so I don't remember everything. And she had come to me and she had thanked me. And she's like, I don't know if you remember. And I was like, no, I didn't remember her face, but then she told me the story and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy you got help. Like, that was a story that didn't come from me. Like, that was just like faith, I swear. But that was something that has always stuck with me. And I butcher like the story a little bit. Like, I can't remember exactly what was said, but along the same lines. But that was something that was really eye-opening of talking to that student. So now that is my approach to coaching as well, of being like, you have to, like, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Like, so I care as a coach about the whole person. Crazy,
yeah,
right?
all ties together. Physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health.
Yep.
It was such a beautiful story. And I know you said you're a woman of faith.
Yeah.
So how did that documentary Christspiracy, how did that?
Oh my gosh. I cried. I think I started crying at the point. I think it was the cow, like when the cow couldn't turn around and got stuck in that narrow pathway, that I started crying. So as a woman of faith and as a Christian my whole life, I can say Christians are the hardest, most judgmental group of people. It's wild to me how judgmental we are. Like, it is. It's like, I know people who have gotten pregnant and outside marriage, and they're like talking shit about this person. I'm like, I get it didn't follow exact rules, but why are we sitting here talking shit about this person? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so I am a person who likes to, like the guy in the documentary. I forget, Cameron, I think his name is, Cam, where I also want to be more like Jesus. And I think that has always been something important to me of what would Jesus do in this situation? Genuinely, what would Jesus do in this situation? If there's somebody that's hungry and judgment and are you going to sit there and judge them, or are you going to go get them food? Right? Like there's more of my life of how do I be more like Jesus more than how do I be more like a woman in the Bible. And so in order to know Jesus, people read the Bible and they learn from the Bible and they interpret and they pull apart whatever they want. That's what pastors do too. There's pastors, a lot of priests, they'll take what they want in the Bible and they'll pull it apart for stories without sometimes knowing the whole context of it. And I know they study, and this is no disrespect to them, because I love so many pastors in this world and I listen to them and I believe in the word. But I think there's a lot of harsh criticism that goes into it. So when I saw that pastor mention in the video, Chris Beersy mention that it was demonic to be vegan, I was like, the f is wrong with you, bro? Like, what? Killing of us not killing animals or not wanting to harm animals is demonic? Make it make sense for, like, common sense. Ask a child. If you ever need common sense, ask a child. Do not go up to a 5-year-old and say, does this make sense to you? If you don't know how to do your own common sense. Like, it boggled my mind. I was like jaw dropped. And so it made me angry because I'm like, this is how a lot of people who don't believe in God are seeing the Christian faith. And it's turning people away from the faith. And that is what's so sad to me, because as a woman of faith, I believe that, like, God is out here and has blessed us with so much in this world, and we as humans are destroying it. We as humans are wrecking it. So I found that part very moving. I found the part of the den. I still want to look into it. The den of thieves that were like the den of murderers of the Parites. And the translation. But then I also read some Rotten Tomato reviews on it who were shitting the film, who were like, they're picking and choosing parts of the Bible that they want to support veganism, da, 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 da. And I'm like, I can't, like, I don't think vegans are ever wrong in the sense of, like, killing an animal is wrong. Killing an animal is wrong. Whatever you want to do with that information, you can, but I'm pretty sure a child, again, go back to common sense, ask a child, is killing an animal wrong? They're going to say, yes, it is wrong. That is your common sense. Now, what you do with that information, that's on you. But if we really need to know what the truth is, like right or wrong, killing an animal is wrong. Whatever you want to believe for your religion and whatnot, and sacrifice and da-da-da-da, go ahead and do that. But if killing of anything, thou shalt not kill, it doesn't say thou shalt not kill humans. It says thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. Period. So that's like, period. Like, that's what I mean. Like, thou shalt not kill. We're the humans that are filling in the blanks. Thou shalt not kill humans unless they try to pull self-defense and try to murder me, then I can kill them. Or if I'm really, really hungry and need to kill an animal, then I can kill it. Like, there is no law in the commandments, the 10 commandments, that is like, thou shalt not kill, unless under these circumstances. Like, no. So I think people like to dissect and pull apart things. We say thou shalt not kill animals, and then that's thou shalt not kill animals, humans, whatever living beings, and things with, brains and reproductive organs. And then people just want to take from it. And I'm no perfect person. Yeah, I don't eat animals, but I've lived, I think you and I have had this conversation. Maybe we haven't, but like, I've had Uggs for 10 plus years. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I've had certain bags that, for a long time, but now moving forward, am I necessarily making those choices? No, but I'm not perfect in that, because I'm still growing in that direction. But if somebody said, is killing animals wrong? I'd be like, yeah. Oh yeah. Like, duh. So it's just what we choose to do with that. So, and what the belief is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Thanks. And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not kill, period. And one of the awful moments was when they asked that simple question, how would Jesus kill an animal? You think about that, you're like, he wouldn't. Well, some of them were like, well, he would, cut their throat.
Slit the throat.
He just imagined, like, an all loving, compassionate God or Jesus.
I can't see I
No,
can't see Jesus killing an animal.
exactly. So just that simple question, just like it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
don't think I don't think he would kill an animal. Now, people say the thing about the fish though, and they're like, "Well, he ate fish." And I'm like, "Well, in certain translations it was he made a fisher of men. He collected all the fish to make a point of being fishers of men to follow him." But
mhm,
it wasn't to eat the fish. There's so many different avenues, but like again, I don't choose to go down that conversation because I'm not well versed, pun intended, with the Bible. But I'm not well versed in the Bible. So I actually got a book that's 52 weeks of learning the Bible, and it's like a woman edition. So I'm doing it myself to learn more information and be better at having conversations. But those are conversations I don't go for. I don't go for environmental conversations either. I don't go for conversations around anything in the medical community because I'm not a doctor. Don't go anything in the physical therapy community about what exercise is better for this muscle or this muscle because I'm not a physical therapist. So like I'm not going to go down the conversation of something I'm not well versed in, and that's just how I am as a person. But I continue to learn and want to learn and be impressionable and read both sides. That's the biggest thing about a learner that shows what kind of person you are. If you read both sides and you understand both sides. Like I understand what people say about eating meat in the Bible. I hear them. But after knowing both sides and hearing both sides, I don't think Jesus would kill an animal. Same with a girl that ate meat for 25 years and thought that it was the best thing for my body to now being vegan, I should say plant-based, right? I think plant-based has helped heal and save my body way more than meat ever did because I remember being very, very sick, anemic, all these issues when I ate meat, like your typical standard American diet, to now not. And I'm much healthier of an individual. So it's like you have to know both sides, where it's like the people that argue that, oh, vegans are not doing it right, da 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 da. When you do it correctly, give yourself like 3 to 6 months to follow a correct plant-based diet and then see how you feel. That compared to that. Just see. Because I hate when people start to argue one side when they haven't been on the other side. They haven't been, or they haven't learned, or they haven't experienced it. So shut up. Like, just stop. I just can't. I just can't. Because, like, even people, again, I'm a woman of God and I 100% believe in God. And I'm to the day I die, best decision I've ever made. I can also understand people's frustration of why they might not believe in God because of how hard their life might be or how things don't work out and how frustrated they are. Where, yeah, some people might question, how did you lose your kids to cancer and you don't believe in God? That's a really tough thing, because why would God want to take away your kids? So I could understand somebody's side of why they wouldn't, but I've also been through really hard times and have been brought through with such peace. And that peace inside has come from I believe, God. So for me, I can understand and hear somebody's side of why they might not believe in God or why they might not want to be vegan or why they might not. But I'm choosing my side, but it's not like I'm not listening or not hearing their side. And that is what a good arguer does. Somebody who can actually have a conversation. Because if you have somebody who's so gung-ho on one side and they're not even listening to the other side, just stop. You're going to waste so much mental energy and breath on them.
absolutely. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. And tell people how they could follow you. Tell us about your
Yeah.
company
Oh,
and what
love
services
that.
you offer.
Absolutely. Because I know we've done over an hour, but I love this. This is great. This is wonderful. It's been great. So I am. So one, my podcast is Best Life by You. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. I have two Instagram accounts. I have my personal, which is Julia Furlipa, and then I have my business one, which is Best Life by You. I tend to co-collaborate on a lot of things, but if you're looking for more information, resources, education, follow Best Life by You.
Mhm.
TikTok, I just have fun videos, not really educational, under Julia Furlipa. And then my website, Best Life by You, I offer quite a few things. I have an app out. Eventually, it will be in the App Store. It's called Best Life by You. It has over 100 plant-based recipes. All the macros are written out. It has every 16 weeks, there's a new 4-day strength training program. There's a travel program, body weight program, because I also am a personal trainer alongside a nutritionist. And so the app has that. It also has a small community where people can write their wins. There's monthly challenges where people can win awards. We have squat challenges, vegetable challenges, plank challenges. Like every month there's a new challenge, and it's a very small community right now. There's a daily tracker where people input the food they're eating, they input how they're feeling, the vitamins they take, the steps they take. They also write down like a recap of the day, like what their wins were, their highlights. So it's an all-in-one app that just allows people to be more consistent. So eventually I'll have it on the App Store. So that's a membership monthly fee. And then my other main services, I offer one-on-one nutrition coaching calls. And that nutrition call is 50 minutes. And with that 50-minute call, people fill out a form. They write down like what they're really looking for. They give all their information to me. It's a client intake form. And then I'm able to look over all their information. And usually they'll give me like, I really am struggling with XYZ. The call is a solution call. We focus on goals, a solution for this. And usually those calls are every 2 weeks, and people can pay as needed. They don't have to, they can take those calls as needed. It's not commitment. People do every other week, or they do once a month. They do once every 2 months. But that call can just help them reset, fill in gaps of what they're needing. I had one woman who was vegan, and she just literally needed help with protein. And that was the main point of the call. And like now she's doing so much better because I provided sources for her, what she could do in her day. And then I have a 4-month online coaching program, and that is very intensive. It's a guaranteed full body transformation, body recomposition, and that is provided like a customized training program, customized meal plan. You can text me, call me, voice message me. We have 3 online Zoom calls a month. And then the other service, I offer personal training only in Westchester, New York. I've done online, but online is like certain special circumstances. And then I also do private, family, in-house, or virtual education talks. And then the newest, and I work with, I have a concierge celebrity VIP box. I have 6 offerings on my website. There's 6 different things. The last one is corporate talks, or school talks. So that one's getting added soon though. So yeah, a lot of different things. Sorry, I know that was rambling, but pretty much I'm a nutritionist who helps you fill in the gaps, personal trainer, and just an educator overall. So, and I help you transform your life.
Boom.
There we go.
Perfect. And I will include all your links and all your
Thank
info
you.
in the show
Thank
notes.
you.
And this has
Thank
been
you.
absolute blast and a pleasure. So thanks for
Yes.
being on the show, Julia.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.